Let us begin with a small prayer. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Sutra Bhashya Pranetaro Vedantabja Prabhakaro Vande Parasparatmano Badarayana Shankaro. Good evening and a very warm welcome to everyone. I am Manu Kashyap from Advaita Academy. This is session 2 of Bhagavad Gita from scratch to peak by Professor V. Krishnamurthy ji. We welcome you, sir. Yesterday, Professor V. Krishnamurthy ji provided an overview of the rock bottom fundamentals of Vedanta. He explained about the 4 levels of reality, that is Asat, Pratibhasika Satya, Vyavaharika Satya, Paramarthika Satya. And he also shed light on who is Jiva, who is Jivatma, what is Paramartha Vastu, and so on. Today, he will be continuing the session. Viewers, if you have any questions, please post it in the Q&A box and not in the chat box. Krishnamurthy ji will be taking up those towards the end of the session. Krishnamurthy ji, please start your session.
Thank you. Thank you, Manu Kashyap. Om Vagishadya Sumanasakha Sattva Tharam Upakrame Yam Natva Kritakritya Syugutam Nama Pikajananam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Dirim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Sada Shiva Samarambam Shankarachatya Madhyamam Asmadachatya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Yoginam Vishwanathakyam Asmattata Swarupinam Atmanabhat Param Labham Vaktaram Nakadachana Gita Artha Grantha Kattaram Shri Gurum Pranamamyam Yonta Pravishyame Vacham Dhritim Buddhim Prachodayat Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Yasena Gratidam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaita Varishnim Bhagavatim Ashtadashathyayinim Ambatva Manusandadavi Bhagavat Gite Bhavatveshinim Om Namah Sababhyas Sabapatibhyascha Vo Namah. Friends, this is the second talk on Gita from scratch to peak. Yesterday, as Manu Kashyap ji told you just now, I talked about the 4 levels of reality and also talked about the chart of the self. Give chart 2. The chart of the self was shown to you yesterday in order to emphasize the point. I am not the body. I am not the body. We talk about I am reiterating for those who might not have attended yesterday's. The I that we usually use in ordinary conversation is only the BMI, body, mind, intellect. This is the outer self. There is an inner self, that is the Jiva, which resides. That is the inner self. That inner self is the Jiva, which is the spark of the Absolute, which is the spark of the Absolute, but that itself, its essence, its core essence is Satchidananda, Parabrahma. So that is called Jivatma. Of course, Jivatma and Paramatma are the same. That is the Mahavakya. So there are 4 selves: material self, the inner self, the outer self, and the inner self, and the self. Okay, so with that we start. Yesterday we talked about how Arjuna was told 4 arguments by Krishna. That is what convinced him: the actionless Swadharma argument, the devotion, bhakti argument. When everything is God means not only God, finally it is the Prakriti that does everything. So these different arguments convinced Arjuna. So finally he says, Karishye Vachanam Tava. And Krishna did this for Arjuna in the 18 chapters, but side by side, almost as a symbiotic combination of what he was saying to Arjuna and what he was saying to all of us. It was a symbiotic combination. He gave us 5 teachings. Those 5 teachings you can see now on this chart. This is the chart which we exhibited at the end of the lecture yesterday, second part of the lecture. You have seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Karma, Bhakti, Sharanagati, Yoga Sadhana, Brahma Bhava. These 5 are the teachings for us. Of this, the Karma Yoga part I talked yesterday. And so we are going to get to 2, 3, from 2 onwards. Also remember the 9, the 5 columns and the 4 horizontal things, 6, 7, 8, 9, together make 9 ways of assimilating and practicing the teaching of the Gita. But 9 is the most difficult. From there, it goes by decreasing difficulty, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we started with 1. So now I am going to take up number 2. What is number 2? It is the Bhakti. It is Bhakti. So now, chapters 7 to 12, 6 chapters are about Bhakti. We cannot be doing all that now. But so I pick for you certain slokas which I would like to recall to you. The most important sloka I call the bottom line sloka of the entire Bhakti thing. Matta parataram nasti kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam protam sutre manigana jiva. Chapter 7, sloka 7. What does it say? It says, there is nothing that is different from me. Matta parataram nasti. There is nothing other than me. Mattaha parataram nasti. I am the only one. Now the Lord is speaking in first person because he is identifying himself with Brahman. It is Brahman speaking through the Saguna form of Krishna. There is nothing that is different from me. All this that you see, world, universe, you, me, everything, is strung on that Saguna form, Mui, Krishna, like pearls in a string. Matta parataram nasti, kinchidasti dhananjaya, mai sarvamidam protam. They are strung like pearls in a string. In fact, this is the one thing that the Vedas and the Upanishads repeat very often throughout the Vedas and the Upanishads. I will just quote for you one thing. That is Mahanarayana Upanishad, standard sentence. Yaccha kinchit jagat sarvam drishyate shruyate pivam antar bahishya tat sarvam vyapya narayana stitah. Narayana is antar. Whatever you see, yaccha kinchit jagat sarvam, in the universe, whatever you see, yaccha kinchit jagat sarvam drishyate, you see, you hear about everything. Antar bahihi, both inside and outside. As antaha is immanence, bahihi is transcendence. Both ways, I am there. I am the only thing that is there. So, this sloka, matta parataram nasti ki, the Gita sloka, 7th chapter, 7th sloka, in fact, can be taught to even children. Even when they are 5-year-old or 6-year-old, that is when they should start realizing that God is everywhere. They will understand the Maisar Vamidam Protam Sutre Manigana in a string, pearls are strung. See this, the child will understand. So in the string of the Lord, we are all strung like pearls. Of course, there are more Vedantic meanings here. The pearls have no existential basis other than through the string. If you take them out of the string, they will have no way to exist. So the string exists without the pearls. The string exists without the pearls, but the pearls do not exist without the string. So we, people, do not exist without the Lord inside. The string exists even outside of the pearls. That is transcendence. Bhagavad. Without the pearls, string can exist. Without the body, the Lord can exist. Right? But without the Lord, the body cannot exist. The body cannot exist. So that is, the Lord is immanent. Immanent. Antarvyapti. Antarvyapti in us. So there is an antarvyapti, there is a bahirvyapti. Antarvyapti is immanence, bahirvyapti is transcendence. Every religion talks about transcendence. God is beyond that, in Father in heaven and things like that. So God is beyond all of us. This every religion talks about it. But only Sanatana Dharma talks about the immanence. God is inside. You are spiritual inside. So then, Sanatana Dharma is the only religion which talks about immanence of the absolute in us. There are two technical terms which Gita does not use, but Vedanta uses. I want to introduce you to that. Anvaya Vyatireka. Anvaya and Vyatireka. Anvaya is continuity, Vyatireka is discontinuity. Anvaya is coordination, coexistence. Vyatireka is distinguished existence. The string exists separately, but the pearls cannot exist without the string. So the string is needed for the pearls. That is Anvaya, continuity. Vyatireka is the string alone can exist. That is Vyatireka. So, in fact, the Tamil language has a beautiful word for God. It has all this meaning. Kadavul. 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 Kada is transcend. Kada. Kada, the verb kada means transcend, go beyond. Ul means inner, inside. So transcendence, immanence. Kada ul. Kadan, so Tamil, that itself tells you the entire Vedanta. In fact, in Purusha Sukta of the Veda, very first beginning, there is a beautiful way of saying this. Sabhumim Vishwato Vritva Atyatishtat Dashangulam. That supreme, right, pervades everything. Sabhumim Vishwato Vritva, pervades the entire universe. Atyatishtat Dashangulam. But not only pervades, it goes a little beyond. Atyatishtat Dashangulam. Anyway, so this is the bottom line shloka of bhakti that I would like. There are many other shlokas, but I wanted to bring this because it has this Anvaya Vyatireka, transcendence, immanence. So what after all is bhakti? What is bhakti? Bhakti is, note this, conscious living in the continuous awareness of whatever I told you just now. Conscious living in continuous, no discontinuity, in continuous awareness of this. Right? So then, how do we be in this continuous awareness? How do we do that? So I am going to talk a little more about bhakti now, because bhakti is a central part of the Gita, which you and I can immediately understand and follow. So, chapter 9, there are slokas 13, 14, 16 to 19. 13, I am telling you. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakriti bhashitaha bhajantyananya manaso jnatva bhutadimavyayam. There are great people, Mahatmanaha. How do they worship you? Daivim prakriti. They have sattvic, complete, full sattvic nature in them. Daivi prakriti. Bhajantyananya manasaha. Without thinking of anything else, they worship you. They know that you are the imperishable, supreme, ever-present Sattvic. Therefore, they worship you like this. Not only that, Satatam Kirtaya, next sloka, 14, chapter 9. Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Dridavratah Namasyantascha Mam Bhaktya Nityayukta Upasate. Always they chant in ecstasy. Satatam Kirtayantaha Mam. Krishna is speaking. Remember, Krishna is Parabrahman, but talking to Arjuna, he is in the Saguna form. Saguna form. So, Yatantascha Dridavratah Namasyantascha Mam Bhaktya. So they prostrate. He uses the word Nama. Nama is a very important word. Na, ma. The Upanishad says, Namyante esmai kamaha tannama ityupasita. Whoever worships that supreme with the word Nama, Namyante asmai kamaha. To him, kamaha desires fall at his feet. He who worships the Lord with Namaha, all the desires, you remember desires are the great evil for us. We are not able to overcome our desires. So what does the Lord do? If you worship the Lord with Nama, the desires fall at your feet. Namyante esmai kamaha. Therefore, the word Nama is very important. So they do Nama. There are so many other things about Nama. Nama, Namaste, we say. It's very, it has a Vedantic meaning. The right hand is Brahman, because all the manifestations of Brahman. Karagre vasate Lakshmi, Karamadhye Saraswati, Karamule to Govinda, Saraswati Lakshmi Govinda, all they are Saguna form, manifestations of the Parabrahman. So this is Brahman. This is the Jivatma, left hand, left palm. When the two palms are joined, that means that Jivatma and the Paramatma are the same. I am worshipping you. When you say Namaste, I am respecting you as the Brahman in you. I am prostrating to that. So, Namasyantasya Yad Bhaktya, Mam Bhaktya, Nityayukta. This is how great people worship. This is how Bhakti is coming from ancient times even to us. So then, the 9th chapter is a very important chapter as far as Bhakti is concerned. After this 13, 14, he gives 16, 17, 18, 19, 4 slokas. The Lord, Krishna, he talks about himself in superlative terms. He reveals to you. You know Vishnu Sahasranam. What is Vishnu Sahasranam? It is about Vishnu. So Vishwam, Vishnu, Vashatkaro, we speak about various aspects of the Lord. This Bhishma narrated it, and that is how Vishnu Sahasranam. But here, the Lord himself narrates about himself. So I call it Atmastuti. It's very important. See, Atmastuti. Aham kraturaham yajna, aham. He says, he refers to himself. Aham kratuhu. I am the sacrifice. I am the yajna. Sodha aham aushadam. I am the offering. I am the medicine. Pitahamasya jagato. I am the father of the universe. Pitahamasya jagato. Mata data pitavaga. I am the mother of the universe. I am the data. I am the protector. Pitamaha. I am the grandfather, so to say. Gatir Bharta. And then 18. Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasa Sharanam Sukrute Prabhava Pralayasthanam Nidanam Bijam Avyayam. You see, these 4 shlokas, 16, 17, 18, 19, 4 shlokas you get by heart and constantly chant it. While chanting it, try to understand the meaning. Then you will be immersed in the thought of God. That is the meaning of bhakti. Of course, there are various rituals for bhakti, puja, this, that, everything. But I am trying to tell you the minimum and the most important thing, the essential thing in this. Constant chanting of these shlokas and the mantras and understanding the meaning and being immersed in the meaning, that is bhakti. Gatir bhatta prabhu sakshi. I am the gati, final recourse. I am the gatir bhatta. I am the protector. Prabhu sakshi. I am witnessing everything. Nivasaha. You are residing in me. I am your residence. Sharanam, I am the final resort for you. I am the great friend for you. Prabhava, pralayasthanam, everything comes from me, prabhavaha. Everything gets absorbed in me, pralayaha. Prabhava, pralayasthanam, nidhanam, bijam, avyayam. I am the seed, bijam. Avyayam, imperishable seed. You see, when a tree produces a seed, once the seed becomes the tree, there is no more the other that seed. Seed becomes the tree, not that. He is avyayam bijam, imperishable seed. He is the only imperishable seed in the whole world because he produces all of us, but he still remains as the seed, right? So that is the conscious living in the continuous awareness of the above. About once we talk about bhakti, there is so much to say. Let me go a little out of the Gita to tell you something important. What are the 3 things of God that we ought to remember all the time? One is transcendence, another is immanence, another is perfection. He is perfect. There is nothing imperfect in him as the saguna form. So, transcendence, immanence, and perfection. I call it the TIP, T-I-P, transcendence, immanence, perfection. So I told you, I will go a little out of the Gita now. There is something called Vaidyanatha Ashtakam. There is a sloka there. I think it is the 3rd sloka or the 5th sloka. That sloka says, Vedanta Vidyaya Jaganmaya Yogishwara Jaya Padambujaya Trimurti Rupaya Sahasranamne Shivaidhyanathaya Namah Shivaya. Vedanta Vidyaya, one thing. Jaganmaya is another thing. Vedanta Vidyaya Jaganmaya Yogishwara Jaya Padambujaya 3. Trimurti Rupaya Sahasranamne. 5 things are said there. 5 things. What are the 5? Vedanta Vidyaya. You can understand him only if you study Vedanta. So he is transcendent. He cannot be understood by ordinary understanding. Buddhev Param. So transcendence. Vedanta Vidyaya. Jaganmaya. He is in the form of this universe. So immanence. He is here. So transcendence, immanence. Yogishwara Dhyaya Padambujaya. The yogis revel in meditating on him, on his feet, because that is happiness. The meditation itself is happiness. So transcendence, immanence, and the perfection out of that happiness. TIP. And what are them? Vedanta Vidyaya Jaganmayaya Yogishwara Dhyaya Padambujaya Trimurti Rupaya Sahasranamne Trimurti Rupaya. He is in the form of three murtis. You know that. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. There are various other ways in which you can interpret the three. Anyway, Trimurti Rupaya Sahasranamne. He has got 1,000 names. So the last two are Nama and Rupa. Rupa is form, Nama is name. The first line was transcendence, immanence, perfection. Transcendence, immanence, perfection are his permanent attributes. Permanent attributes. Nama and Rupa are temporary. They come and go. See, Nama and Rupa. So those three, transcendence, immanence, are permanent. These are temporary, ephemeral, as they say that. So this is the only thing in the whole of Vedanta. And that single shloka of Vaidyanatha Ashtaka says everything that you ought to know when you talk of bhakti. So then, sir, you talked about bhakti. Is it Krishna, bhakti to Krishna, or bhakti to the Parabrahman? Understand? Krishna is the Saguna form of Parabrahman. Parabrahman is the absolute Nirguna form. Nirguna bhakti is difficult. God, the Lord himself, Krishna himself says that in the 12th chapter, 4th sloka or 5th sloka. He says it is very difficult for ordinary people to think of Nirguna, that is the Lord without attributes, and pay respect to him. So Nirguna bhakti is very difficult, but you have to do it ultimately. That is the stage of jnana. So in order to do that, start with Saguna bhakti, worship Krishna, worship any deity that you like. You can have your own Ishta Devata, whatever, worship that as the supreme, and that will lead you to that permanent Nirguna form of the Parabrahman. So this is the intrinsic secret of bhakti. I think there are so many things about bhakti I can tell you, but we have to go further. So bhakti, that is number 2. Number 2. Go to number 3. Number 3. What is number 3? Sharanagati. That is the culminating point of bhakti. Culminating point of bhakti. Ultimate step. He is in the hearts of all of us. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam. 18th chapter, sloka number 61. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati Vyamayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudhani Mayaya. Satya Sai Baba used to say that this is the residential address of the Lord. People from foreign devotees of Satya Sai Baba used to come and ask him, Babaji, you give me your phone number, you give me your address so that I can constantly talk to you. Baba used to say, there is no address for me. I am there in your heart. Ishvaraha Sarva Bhutanam. So it's a beautiful way of saying this. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam. Hriddeshe Arjuna Sittadi. You see, this is the difference between Sanatana Dharma and all other Western religions. The Western religions think of God as someone who is sitting there. Not at all. He is right here. Right? Ishvaraha Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshe. I am there. So when you say I, the self, the capital self, that is me. There is no question of me there. It is only one, Brahman. So anyway, Tameva Sharanam Gacha. You have to resort to him in order that you may obtain his grace. This is number 3. There is so much to talk about this, but I am skipping it. So the most important thing for 3 and all the other things is 3 also is difficult. Tameva Sharanam Gacha. Why is it difficult? Because you should not have the Dehatma Buddhi. What is Dehatma Buddhi? Deha Atma Buddhi. The body is the Atma. This thinking, buddhi, this thinking is wrong. Dehatma buddhi is wrong. Thinking that my body is, I am the BMI, that is wrong. So this Dehatma buddhi, unless it goes, you will not be able to surrender completely to the Lord. And sir, how will this Dehatma buddhi go? How do I do that? It is for that the yoga sadhana is there. Number 4. Number 4, yoga sadhana is there. What is yoga sadhana? You see, you and I have to pass through steps, from step to step of yoga sadhana to the heights. There were 63 Nayanmars of Lord Shiva, 12 Alvars of Lord Vishnu. They did not perform yoga sadhana to reach that stage. They had such a superlative bhakti in the Lord that they did not have to do yoga sadhana. But we have to reach that stage only by yoga sadhana. What is yoga sadhana? This is step 4. Step 4. The entire 6th chapter is this. Talking about the 6th chapter, once in Delhi, once in Madras, I gave the 6th chapter for 6 days. So 6th chapter, there is so many things. But quickly, in 10 minutes, I will tell you. Here, summary. How do we start? What do we do? How do we meditate? What do we meditate on? These are standard questions. Start with a simple japa of God. Take any name, mantra from a guru, any shloka, anything that you know, in any language, in Marathi, in Tamil, in Gujarati, in Hindi, there are wonderful things. Take anything, simple japa, 32 times, 64 times, 108 times, 3 times a day, whatever. So, shloka number 12 says, yes, what is shloka number 12 of 6th chapter? 1 minute, excuse me. Yes. Tatraika agrammana kritva yata chittendriya kriyagam upavishyasane yunjati yogamatma vishuddhaye. That is where japa starts. Ekagrata, right? Yata chittendriya kriyaha. Yata chittendriya kriyaha. Yata means controlled. Chitta is mind. Indriya is senses. Kriya is action. All these things have to be controlled, and you start with a mantra japa, japa yajna. So this is called japa sahita dhyana. But what happens is, we go through 5 stages. And this number 5 is occurring very often. You can see that. We go through 5 stages. What are the 5 stages? Chipta, Moodha, Vichipta, Ekagrata, Niruddha. I am borrowing from Yoga Sutras. Chipta means you are totally dissipated. It is the starting point. Every one of us, we think of so many things, and these things don't leave the mind. So even when we sit for japa, we are thinking of those things. In that stage is called chipta, dissipated. Then the next stage is muda, ignorance. We want to get out of this, but we are not able to. That is a state of ignorance. Then with chitta, slowly we get into the meditative stage, but again we come back. I mean, the mind falls back to things outside. That is called vichipta, distracted, vichipta. You see, as you remember, all these things will not happen in 5 minutes, sitting once. You have to do it daily. Slowly, if you are really serious about it, if you are really concentrating, you will go through all these stages. Chipta stage, Mudha stage, Vichipta stage, then the fourth stage is Ekagrata, one-pointed devotion. When the sattva increases in your system, sattva, rajas, tamas, we talk about it in the 14th chapter, sattva, rajas, tamas. When the sattva increases, you slowly it comes to the ekagrata stage in the meditation. I am talking of continuous meditation for several days, maybe 6 months, maybe 1 year, maybe several years, right? So you got to the ekagrata stage, one-pointed devotion. The next stage is the niruddha stage, completely controlled. Completely controlled. In that niruddha stage, he tells you, 6th chapter, Shloka 20, very important Shloka. Yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyannatmani tushyati. You see, so when you are in the stage of niruddha, niruddha means completely. Yatra chaiva paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevayam. Niruddha, when you are in the niruddha stage, completely controlled stage, you see atmanaiva atmanam pashyane. Atmani, atmani, atmane, atmana pashyane tushyati. He rejoices, he is happy by seeing the Atman, by himself, by Atman, in the Atman. In the Atman means in the heart cave of the heart. Atman by the self means not by the mind. Mind becomes the self. Mind is not here and then the Atman is there. No, not like that. Right? When you introduce a piece of wood in fire, what happens? When you introduce a piece of wood in the fire, the wood disappears. It becomes a fire. So the mind, when it approaches the self, it becomes a self. There is no more mind. This you have to understand. That is what it says. Yatra chaiva atmana, by oneself, atmanam, the self, pasyanne. Seeing the self is not the English meaning. It means becoming the self. Atmani tushyati. That gives you happiness. Rejoices in the self, beholding the self by one's inner sense. Right? This is what he calls in the next sloka, I think 21. Buddhigrashyam. Buddhigrashyam. Buddhigrashyam, simple English meaning is obtained by, caught hold of by buddhi, intellect. No. Buddhigrashyam. Remember in the 3rd chapter, he said at the end, Buddhe Param. He is beyond the intellect. Now, how can the intellect now understand the Supreme? So it is not so. It is here, Grashyam means, remember, you and I read a book. We study mathematics. We study science. What do? By our intelligence, we understand it. Right? So by our intelligence, we understand mathematics, physics, or anything else. The understanding of the Supreme is not like this. The understanding of the Supreme is not like this. Knowledge of ordinary things is what I told you. Knowledge of mathematics, knowledge of science, knowledge of everything. But knowledge of the Supreme is knowledge by identity. Knowledge by identity. You become it. The mind is not sitting as mind and seeing the self. No. The mind becomes the self. This is the most important thing that we have to understand in Gita, Vedanta, Sanatana Dharma. So that is the yoga sadhana, number 4. What is next? Brahma Bhava. Brahma Bhava. Sir, why is this Brahma Bhava? Because the culmination of all this yoga sadhana is a practice. At the end of the practice, what should you become? You should be able to see everything as Brahman. Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam chamayi pashyati. So when you go outside, when you see a tree, when you see a building, when you see other persons, you must see only Brahman. Yeah, Sadashiva Brahman lived like this. Yeah, Ramana Maharshi lived like that. Kanchi Periyava, Kanchi Mahaperiva lived like this. There are people, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he saw everything as a Durga. And he was thinking, he got the manifestation, the Durga manifestation as Brahman, absolute for him. So you can have a particular manifestation as Brahman for you, but you must see it everywhere. Yomam pashyati sarvatra, he who sees me everywhere. So that is how you obtain equanimity, Brahma Bhava. What exactly, yesterday also I talked about Brahma Bhava. Equanimity is with respect to happenings, was Sukha Dukkha, with respect to objects, Samaloshta Ashmakanchana, Loshta Ashmakanchana, I mean, cloud of earth, brick and gold, all the same. People lovely and not lovely, Priya Priyaha. Priya, whoever is friendly, whoever is not friendly, both you must have the same attitude. Praise and censure. And then mana apamana yoho, mana apamana, honor and dishonor. Sir, this is too much. It's not possible. How can this happen? And Ramakrishna Paramahamsa has beautiful examples for almost everything. So here is the example. Sir, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa speaking. Hey, do you see this tall palmyra tree? Yes. Do you see the grass growing next to it? The small piece, grass. So the small piece of grass is just there. The tall palmyra tree is also there. So there is a difference. Now, you climb that hill, go to the top of the hill. Ramakrishna is speaking. Go to the top of the hill. From there, you look at the same palmyra tree and the grass. What do you see? There is no difference. They are both look the same from that height. From that height, what appeared to be different earlier becomes the same now. This is what happens for great people. This is what happens for Kirtan. You must go to that spiritual height to have this equanimity. Brahma Bhava. Of course, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmarpanam, that is the major shloka this way, and that helps you to think of everything as Brahman. So we have done the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 steps, 5 ways. Now go to 6 and 7. Why am I taking 6 and 7 together? They are both the same. 6 is shloka number 27 of 9th chapter. 7 is shloka number 55 of the 11th chapter. 11th chapter. Both are the same. 9:27 says, Yat karoshi yadasnasi yajjuhoshi dadasi yati yattapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. And the shloka 55 of the 11th chapter says, mat karma kranmat paramo mat bhakta sangha varjita nirvaira sarva bhuteshu yasamam yeti pandava. So I will call that chapter 9 shloka, that Yona Hrishati shloka, this one chapter 11 shloka. Both have 5 things in them. Gita teaches you 5. All the 5 are here. That's the beauty. Now, so far, we were talking about number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, each individually. Now we are talking of all the 5 together. That is why I told you we are coming to more difficult steps. So, yat karoshi means whatever you do, Kurushva Madarpanam. Dedicate it to me. But dedicate is a very bad, very weak word. Arpanam. Arpanam has different connotations, as I told you yesterday. So, do the arpana to him. Yat karoshi. And that the other sloka also has mat karma krit. You are doing everything for me. Whatever you do, yajnarthat karmano yajna, do it as a yajna. So, whosoever does all his works for me, mat karma krit. Mat bhakta, whosoever becomes my devotee. In the other 9th chapter, it says, yadashnasi, whatever you consume. Consume includes whatever you experience. Right? Make the arpana to me means, I am the one who is the experiencer. You are not the experiencer. The thing within, right? Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Pradinam Dekabhashitagam. That also comes in the Gita. Right? That is, I am there sitting as Vaishwanara and digesting everything that you put in. So I am the one who is experiencing. Whoever does all his works for me, mat karma kritim. Whoever becomes my devotee, mat bhaktagam. Whoever makes me his supreme goal, mat paramaha. Mat parama, I am the refuge, sharanagati. So, karma, bhakti, sharanagati. Then, whoever in respect of all beings is free from enmity, nirvairaha. Nirvairaha. Nirvairaha means no enmity. It's interesting. You see, there is a standard prayer which is common to the whole entire India, which ends with Ma kaschid dukkha ma priyat. Let not anybody have any grief. But there is a Vedic prayer, Vedic ending, which is slightly different and which has a Vedanta part in it. Sahana bhavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahavidyam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu, ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This is a standard Shanti Pata. Sahana Bhavatu. Let us be protected all together. Sahanau Bhunaktu. Let us enjoy together. Sahanau Bhunaktu. Saha Viryam Karavavahai. Let us all make efforts all together. Everything together. Sahana Bhavatu. Sahanau Bhunaktu. Saha Viryam Karavavahai. Tejasvina avadhitamastu. By the Lord Supreme, that light, let every one of us be lightened, enlightened. Avadhitamastu. Everything is over here. The prayer has to stop here. It does not stop. It says, Ma vidvishavahai. This is the punchline. Let us not hate anybody. Here we are not talking of any advice. This is prayer. But why this advice comes? Ma vidvishavahai. Because this is very important. Ma vidvishavahai. Not hating anybody is very important. And that is what this Nirvaira Sarva Bhuteshu, in Shloka number 55 of the 11th chapter, it says, Nirvaira Sarva Bhuteshu Yasamam Yeti Pandava. You must be free from enmity. You must be free from enmity. Therefore, in the 9th chapter Shloka, Yat Dana Dadasi, whatever you give, don't think that you are giving what you have. You are giving what God gave to you, God's property. That is what you are giving. So make it to me, this says. So such a person comes to me. Thus spake Krishna. So each of these slokas, 9:27 and 11:55, both of them, it's a condensed version of the entire Gita. In fact, Shankaracharya, in his preface to 11:55, excuse me, Shankaracharya, in his preface to the Shloka 55 of the 11th chapter, after all the Vishwarupa has been shown, that last Shloka, here he says, this Shloka is the final content of the entire Gita. He says that. So that is why I take that Shloka and the 927 Shloka. So then, Yat Karoshi, you are doing everything in dedication to him. Yad Ashnasi, whatever he experienced, you are doing everything in as his experience. Because everything belongs to him. I am not the experiencer attitude. I am not the experiencer. So when you do the Yadashnasi, that is, I am not the experiencer. Try to analyze yourself. When unpleasant things happen to us, we would like to say, I am not the experiencer. Right? But the body mind does not allow you to say so. Somebody pinches you, it pains. You cannot say, I am not the experiencer. You have to say. That is what the Gita says. Sir, how is it possible? Yes, possible. Start with small things, small things. Then slowly go to the next next. Over the years, not in one day, all your life, practice this. So whatever you experience, it is his experience, it is not your experience. I am not the experiencer. Yad Ashnasi, Yad Johoshi, whatever you offer to the deities, you are not doing it. This is the Sharanagati part. This is the Sharanagati part. Whatever you are offering is, you are offering only what belongs to him, So use that. I am not the doer. It is he that is the doer. That is why Sharanagati, finally you are able to do that. That is the Sharanagati part. So take the first step with small little things and then go forward. Yat tapasyasi. Yat tapasyasi. Tapas means meditation, penance, whatever you do, even that to be dedicated to him. Right? What is dedication? Doing something for the sake of some noble cause or someone whom you respect, your father, your mother, your guru, accepting suffering for their cause, that is tapas. I was living in Pilani for 23 years. Whenever we come to Delhi, we go back by a bus from Delhi to Pilani, 6 hours. It's a torturous, but in those days. I'm talking of the 80s and 70s. So the roads may not be good, so many things, torturous. But it is a tapas, because you are working in Pilani, you are living by what Pilani gives you. Therefore, in order to reach it, you are doing this tapas of experiencing whatever you call as torture, not as torture, it is an experience. It is his experience. So that is tapas. So take everything as tapas. When you are waiting for a bus, think of it as a tapas. When you are waiting for somebody, think of it as a tapas. So yat tapasyasi, that is for him. So voluntary acceptance of suffering, pain, stress, strain, this is called tapas. Yat dadasi, whenever you give something, you as I told you, you are not renouncing what belongs to you. Nothing belongs to you. Everything belongs to him. So you are only giving that. So everything is transient, Maya. Therefore, there is no reason to bear any iota of ill will to anybody or pity to anybody there. Then Shankaracharya says that, as he told you, that this shloka is the essential content of the Gita. So that is shloka number chapter 9, 27, chapter 11, 55. Mark it, get by heart, assimilate it. Okay. So we have 6 and 7. We have done 8 and 9. What does 8 say? 8 says methodology. Methodology for karma, methodology for bhakti, methodology for sharanagati, methodology for yoga sadhana, methodology for brahma bhava. Each shloka, of course, in some way describes that the whole thing. For example, my sarvani karmani samyasyatma chetasa nirashe nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigata jwaram. For all the actions, mai sarvani karmani samyasya, renounce, leave it to me, adhyatma chetasa, by your heart fullest content, adhyatma chetasa, nirashi, without desire, nirmamaha, without ahankara, bhutva, nirmama bhutva, yudhyasva, Arjuna, go and fight. He is telling us to go and do your duty. So that is the methodology part. For the bhakti part, I have told you 9:34. Madbhakta, what does it say? Manmana mabhavat bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. So it describes how to be a bhakta. And then the Saranagati part, standard shloka, Sarvadharman Parityajya, standard shloka, most important shloka, and that is the methodology for Saranagati. And then this Yoga Sadhana, how much you talk about Yoga Sadhana, still you have to learn something more because it is so vast. Yato nischarati manaschanchalamastinam tatas tato niyam yaitate. Right? So there are questions and questions about Yoga Sadhana. People ask you repeatedly, sir, this is not possible. How to do it? How best to do it? What is the way? How do we start? And Krishna says there is only one method. Yato nischarati. When and where your mind goes out, yato nischarati, manas chanchalam asthiram. Manas is always chanchala, unsteady, and asthiram, and it hops from one thing to another. Yato nischarati, manas chanchalam asthiram, tatas tato. Then and there, every time is go out, bring it. Every time is go out, bring it. Sir, I tried it half a dozen times. Half a dozen is not enough. You have to keep on trying all your life. All your life. There is no other method. Then you cannot have any medicine for it. There is no other method. Yato nischarati manashtantalam astiram tatas tato niyam yaitate. So atmanyeva vashamnaye. Bring it to yourself, he says. So that is the yes. Well, what was I talking about? Yes, number 4. So that is the Yoga Sadhana aspect. So that is number 8. Yoga Sadhana yato nisharati. And for Brahma Bhava, you have it Yomam Pashyati Sarvatra. Whatever, where you see the Lord in everything. That building is there, that tree is there, that mountain is there. The Lord is there, seeing as the mountain. The Lord is there, appearing as the tree. The Lord is there, appearing as the building. The Lord is there, appearing as this person. This you have to get into this habit if you want a spiritual uplift. If you want a spiritual uplift. And then, of course, there is the equanimous view. Final thing, Brahma Bhava. These 4. Now look at number 9. Number 9 says, what does it say? Five tenets of practical Advaita. 5 tenets of practical Advaita. First is efficiency of action, karma, attitude of I am not the experiencer, that is bhakti, attitude of I am not the doer, karta, that is the sharanagati. I am not the doer, it is all yours. Sarvadharman parityajya, sarvadharman parityajya. So I am not the doer. Attitude of yoga sadhana is attitude of I am not the BMI. Why do you do yoga sadhana? We have to forget this body. We have to forget this mind. We have to forget this intellect. It is the intellect that is the most important. Intellect has to be purified in order to be able to do all this by you. And then there is the equanimous view. This, as I told you, is the highest level, Advaita level of living. I am able to tell you all these things in such confidence, not because I have reached that level, no, but because I lived in the presence of a great guru and father, my father, for 29 years. I lived in his presence. I have observed him. I have observed him day and night. We were in a family, so there were people. In a family, you know, many things might happen. He was serving in a court, sub-court, then he got retired, then we moved to some other place for my education, like that. Things happen. There are people in the family, daughters, sons, they come, they go, many things happen for our relatives. For everything that was happening, I could see as a boy, then as a teenager, then as a grown-up young man, I was able to see my father's behavior to every happening, sukha, dukkha, labha, alabha, everything that comes naturally to a family. Naturally to a family. Honor, dishonor. There are people, I mean, relatives, not all relatives are always so friendly, so lovely and not so lovely. Everything. So I could see how he reacts to this. God's will. Ishwara, Prabhavam. Ishwara. God's will. Prarabdha. These are the only words which he will console himself and take it. So he takes everything lightly. He will be able to do that. That is the Advaita Bhavana. That is the Advaita Bhavana. You can see that there. Efficiency in action. I am not the experiencer. I am not the doer. Attitude of I am not the BMI. Equanimous view. This, he had it. I saw him for at least 25 years of my knowledgeable period. I was able to see in every action of his, day in and day out, every day, with everything, in his office, house, public relations, social relations, and everything. I was able to see that. Therefore, I am able to tell you so strongly about the Advaita way. That Advaita way is the final reach. That is why I have given that as number 9. I think I have exhausted myself trying to tell you everything about the Gita from scratch to peak. So what is the peak? Peak is number 9. Scratch is what we started yesterday. Scratch to peak. I hope I have been able to give you something worthwhile. With this, let me stop. I will look for questions and try to answer them. Thank you.
It was just wonderful, Krishnamurthy ji. It was just great. We have a couple of questions. I would like to know why some very cruel people exist, especially people who kill and murder. Why does God not stop them to protect others?
Why does what?
Why? I would like to know why some very cruel people exist, especially people who kill and murder. Why does God not stop them to protect others?
See, this fellow who is a criminal has got his criminal habit from his vasana. Right? Criminal has got his criminal vasana from his previous janmas.
Yes.
The other fellow who is being killed has a prarabdha, which is his prarabdha. I will transfer your question in a different way. People are going to Tirupati, Venkateshwara, to see the Lord in a bus as a group. They are all devotees. They are all going there in perfect devotion. Right? Venkatachala, Venkateshwara. They go, have darshan. Each one does whatever he can, Abhisheka, Archana, whatever, receives the prasad, everything over, one day stay, and then they come back by the same bus. The bus falls down and all of them are lost. Sir, why does this happen? Who is that Lord? I mean, my DMK man is asking, that Lord is not being able to protect them. So he is not the Lord. This is DMK argument. But the argument here is, you see, the fact that, you see, they have put a large amount of money in the hundi. So they have done good things. But then why were they not protected? See, the money that they put in the hundi of the temple, the offerings and prayers that they did, they all go to their sanchita karma. It will be in their bank, karma bank. But a prarabdha karma, they have to experience. They have to experience the prarabdha karma. So this Lord is not responsible. Even the DMK is asking similar questions. Somebody steals the jewels of the goddess. The goddess is not able to protect her own jewels. So how can be a goddess? This is a DMK argument. Right? You see, goddess is only a Saguna Murti. Right? This fellow is stealing the goddess, the jewels of the goddess is stealing because of his vasana, his bad conduct, his rajas, tamas, etc. So he will reap whatever has to be reaped out of. Similarly, the people who died there, their sanchita karma, whatever they have done to the Lord, they will reap the good benefits of that as a sanchita karma in their further births. But the present death by the bus falling down when they return from Tirupati is because of their prarabdha. This is all beautifully explained in our Shastras. Okay.
Yes. Yes. I have a follow-up question with regard to prarabdha. So in Manisha Panchaka, Shankaracharya says, prarabdhaya samarpitam swavapurityesha manisha mama. So how are we to understand this sentence?
Yeah, say that sentence again. Prarabdhaya
samarpitam swavapurityesha manisha mama.
In fact, after yesterday's lecture, a devotee asked me on the phone a similar question. Sir, everything is prarabdha. Everything is this. By prarabdha, I have got satsanga with you. So I was able to hear the Gita. But not everybody is able to hear the Gita. So their prarabdha prevents them from hearing the Gita. So that means everything is happening according to prarabdha. We cannot do anything. Not like that. There is a Tamil proverb which says, Vidiyai Madiyal Vellalam. Vidhi is prarabdha Madi is buddhi. We can conquer. See, the point is, we have to train. I mean, train means the buddhi. Buddhi is the most important thing in our system. Buddhi is the most important thing. We have to train it. How to train it? Of course, satsang, reading good books, doing good things, helping others, all these things help. But these are all, everybody knows this, but you don't see it. Gayatri Japa, what does the Gayatri Japa say? He prompts your buddhi. So by japa of certain mantras, by japa of Lord's names, one improves one buddhi. Right? I was about to say something, I forget. Yes. Yes. Sir, Gayatri is not available to everybody. Not everybody has got the Upadesha of Gayatri. For example, women. What are we supposed to do? I have a solution for that also. In Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, there is what is called Dhruva Stuti. Dhruva, little boy, prays to the Lord, 12 slokas, of which the 10th sloka is very important. Tum nitya mukta vishuddha atma, like that it goes on. Tum nitya buddha vishuddha atma, and so on. It says, it contains the essence of the Gayatri. So, expositors, with people who know more than, I mean, I am only a kind of an ordinary person. There are expositors, scholars. They say that Tvam Nitya Mukta Vishuddha Atma, that sloka, 4-line sloka. You can see in Bhagavatam, I can give you the reference. My website has it completely and also meaning everything. This, if all people who do not have the Gayatri Upadesha to themselves, so it includes women, it includes the people who are not Brahmins, who have not been able to, who have forgotten the Gayatri, for all of them, this Tvannitya Mukta Vishuddha Atma Kutastha Adi Purusho Bhagavatya, that sloka, if they repeat it, it is equivalent to the Gayatri. So that will polish your buddhi. So this buddhi has to be polished. So that is the answer to all criminals, to all criminalization, to all of us.
Viewers, I would like to add a point. Krishnamurthy ji mentioned that about Dhruvastuti. We have a playlist from Krishnamurthy ji himself on Dhruvastuti. I will be sharing the link in the chat box. Please go through that. I'll move on to next question. Namaste. This may be a silly question, but cannot stop asking it. Suppose I start practicing Yatkaroshi, Yadashnasi concept in this life, and I could not reach the ultimatum in this cycle. Will my knowledge that I gained till the last day be carried in the next iteration?
Yeah, Arjuna has asked this question. Arjuna has asked this question at the end of the 6th chapter. Lord, I practice yoga sadhana, but before I see the benefits of it, my life is gone. So what will I do? What happens to me? He says, Parthana Ivekana Mutra Vinashastasya Vidyate. This is a statement which is not there in any other religion. Because the other religions do not have successive births. Here the Lord says, hey, he does not suffer. He has a next birth. Atava yoginameva. He says, prapya punyakritam lokan. He, having gone to good places, comes back to the earth and is born. Shuchinam, Srimatayam, he is born to somebody who is very purified, somebody who is very rich. Atava yoginameva. Or he is born to a great yogi, and therefore he continues his previous yoga sadhana of the last janma in this janma also. This is something which only Sanatana Dharma can give you. So he is not lost.
Yes. We have a question. What is the definition of prayer? It is normally the wish list. Please explain. So I think it is based on how we pray to God. Give me this, give me that. I think he wants a definition of the prayer. How should a prayer be?
Wonderful. You have asked the right question. So I have not talked about the 11th chapter. So now I am going to tell you. Good. You see, our prayers are all bunkum. You go to the Lord, ask him, you give me this, I will give you tomorrow, I will look at this. You give me this, tomorrow I will come and offer prayers to you. It's almost like a business deal. So that is not a pakka prayer. That is not a pakka prayer. Pakka prayer is chapter 11. Chapter 11, yes. Chapter 11, 38, 18, 28, 38, 18. Yeah. Tumaksharam paramam veditavyam, tumasya vishwasya param nidhanam, tumavyaya shaswata dharma gupta, sanatanastum, purusho mato me. This is prayer. Nothing is asked here. You are not asking the Lord anything. You are only praying. So, Vishnu Sahasranam, for example, Vishnu Sahasranam, Vishwam Vishnu Vashatkara, starting from that, Vanama Adikadi Sharingi, like that, up to that, there is nothing. You are not asking anything. You are simply chanting, repeating, remarking, reveling on the glories of God. So, Tomaksharam Paramam Veditavyam, you are the one who ought to be ultimately known. Tomasya Vishwasya Param Nidhanam, you are the support for the entire universe. Tomavyaya Shaswata Dharma Gupta, you are the one who protects the entire Shaswata Dharma. Sanatanaswam, you are most ancient. Purusho Mutome, that is how I consider it. There are two slokas in chapter 11 which are beautiful prayers which you can use anywhere, anytime, any context, any temple, any god. Everybody can do it. It asks nothing. So, sloka number 18, sloka number 38. 38. Yes. Toma adideva purusha purana, Tomasya vishwasya param nidharam, ettasi vedyam cha param cha dhama, tvaya tatam vishwamananta rupa. You are the Adideva, you are the Purusha, you are the most ancient one, you are the support for this entire universe. Vettavasi Vedyam, you are the knower, you are to be known. Vedanta. Vettavasi Vedyam cha param cha dhama, tvaya tatam vishwamananta rupa. You are pervading this entire universe. These two slokas Arjuna has given us. Here, there is nothing asked. So there is not enough. This is the perfect prayer. Perfect prayer for everybody. I have taught this to children. My children of my apartment, they all repeat this.
Wonderful. It was just wonderful. There's another question. Madhvacharya has had a different view. What do you think about Advaita philosophy?
Number one, I don't know a thing about Vaishnava philosophy. I don't know a thing about the Vishishtadvaita philosophy. But I know Madhvacharya is great. But I know Ramanujacharya is great. Sir, what is this? Then why don't you study their philosophy? I have already studied mathematics. I have already studied some quantum mechanics. I have already studied some Gita Vedanta. Now I have no stamina to read everything that everybody has said about the Gita. Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya, they were great spiritual giants. They are speaking from their spiritual perception. What they said must have been right at a particular level. Shankaracharya has also given his thing. You follow one of them. You follow one of them. Don't try to compromise. Don't try to synthesize them. You will get a PhD but nothing more by trying to synthesize these three. Nothing will happen. There have been great people who knew all of that. He did not synthesize it. Madhusudana Saraswati, our parent, so Appaya Dikshidhar, these have been great scholars who knew all the things, but they have not been able to synthesize them. They told you what is Advaita, what is Vishishtadvaita, what is Dvaita. They were able to understand all three separately there, and each one of them were great in that particular field. They were doing that. They have not been able to synthesize them. You and I should not try to do it, should not waste. In fact, my criticism, a little criticism of my American friends. You go to America, they meet every Saturday, Hindu population. They are very friendly, lovingly minded towards Hindu habits. So they meet every Saturday or every Sunday in some house and discuss spiritual matters. And one of the matters which they discuss is how to synthesize Shankara, Ramanuja, Madhva. Sitting in the United States, working for Amazon and whatnot, right? Not devoting any time during the 6 days, not doing rituals, not reading anything spiritual. On Sunday morning, 1 o'clock to 1 hour, also bringing their family and children to take care of the children and so on. Now you discuss how to synthesize Ramanuja, Shankara. This is absurd. Don't try it. Whatever you belong to, whatever your father told you to belong to, keep to that. That is good enough. That is good enough. Ramanuja's bhakti, if today we are thinking of the Lord as infinite and everything, we are all nothing before him, this idea, this habit is Ramanuja's teaching.
True, very true.
Like that. So don't try to synthesize anything. Each one has to follow that particular thing which has come down to him as tradition.
Okay, thank you. We have one more question. Does the Gita say that Lord Krishna is the supreme and the other gods, such as Lord Shiva, are manifestation of Lord Krishna?
There is nowhere it talks about this thing, but Krishna says there is only one supreme. Therefore, all the things are mattah parataram, mattaha. Mattaha means other than Brahman, not other than Krishna. Mattah parataram nasti kinchidasti dhananjaya. So these are only names. These are only names. So this doubt should not come to anybody who studies the Gita. Krishna is a manifestation of Brahman. And sitting there in the chariot, this Brahman is speaking in the Saguna form. Bhaktya mam abhiyanati yavan yaschasmi tattvadah, 18th chapter. Bhaktya, you have the bhakti for the Saguna form. Keep that steady. That will take you to the Nirguna Bhakti.
Wonderful, wonderful. Viewers, with this, we come to the conclusion of this Weekend with Wisdom with Krishnamurthy ji. Krishnamurthy ji, we are grateful for these wonderful sessions from the entire team of Advaita Academy and from myself. We are grateful and thank you immensely for agreeing to have come on our platform and speak for these 2 days. Thank you so much. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Swasti prajabhya paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahisha go brahmanebhya shubhamastha nityam loka samasta sukino bhavantu. Om Tat Sat.